Good morning, students, and Assalamu alaikum. We actually have completed a lot of things in the class, but today just be using this portal, parents portal or the Facebook, that will be talking about one more topic that's very important for your paper. I have chosen this time the narrative writing. As you can see, much of the thing has been written over there, but I guess a lot has been to talk about. If we are talking about your CI paper, then we usually have in a 30-mark question two types of questions. Number one, sentence framing that we've been talking about one way or another in the class, and that is another we are talking about in terms of one particular kind of an object, an envelope, a wallet, anything that could be around which you need to weave a narrative writing. If you look into that particular thing, for example, you have seen and it comes up as the most popular question of your CI, and majority of the students turn up and take it as the most tempted question that they believe that they will be able to write on. In this case, we are talking about the sentence framing. Generally, we divide it into two phases, which is one is the sentence framing, and another is in which any of these things. So, taken these things. Number, I had not spoken to my sister for so long, but now I had to. Now, write a story in which a sentence is important in terms of that I had not spoken to my sister. Now, this particular whole sentence within the tense, within that parameter that you can see, has to be framed into it. Likewise, we are talking about a story in which an envelope is important. It can be a wallet, it can be passport, and these are the further examples of that. Obviously, we're not putting all of these things together in one particular 400 to 500 words, whatever we are going to write about it. There are a few things that I would like to tell you. Yes, narrative is a kind of a thing that we are urged or we are like tempted to write on, but not everyone can write it. So as a student, I must be a best judge of myself, because there are certain elements that I'll be talking about here which are equally important. If you can justify those things, only then you would be able to write it. I guess by now you have seen this thing. I'll be trying to weave something around it. This is something that has been telling me the kind of thing. The moment that I see this question is, I had not spoken to my sister. There should be some kind of a plot, a theme, or something that should come up with it. It's very important for me to see that where I can put it. But if I tell you about that, we are talking about a theme. We are talking about a setting. We are talking about the characters, obviously. We are talking about the plot. We actually are talking about the conflict. We are talking about the climax and the resolution. That was somewhere come here. Generally what happens that the students do not put all of these things into the frame. Like you start looking at that sentence and you start writing it. Let me tell you honestly, for everyone who's attempting CI paper of English, it's very important to plan. Please plan your question. You might not be able to do that within a span of like 45 minutes of all of these things. But if you keep practicing it, like for any of the situation that comes across before your paper, even if you do not draw these kind of set headings, you would be able to just say one thing or something of that of your own, definitely. Like if I look into this actually is putting me some kind of a dramatic thing. Like if I wanted to talk about this could be dramatic. This could be chivalry. This could be adventurous, and so on and so forth. This is how things are. I've written only 3 things. Now if I look into this particular sentence framing, the first thing that clicks to my mind, and just to make you understand, that there should be something emotional in it, because you've not spoken to your sister for so long, and now there's some kind of a chance that you're going to speak. There could be a family drama, there could be some kind of an emotion in it, so it could be. Now what exactly the thing is, you're talking about a rural, urban, countryside, or you're talking about like within the local span of that, then you'll be talking about it, or you'll be talking about as she's been living away from you, and that's abroad. Here comes like sister, you, any kind of like thing. if you're talking about this particular plot is that there could be family disruption, it could be divorce, it could be your wealth distribution, anything of that sort. Conflict is obviously if you're talking about you're the high, you're the one who's the higher, then that is the, and then climax is the highest point of tension. The last we're talking about how do you provide a kind of a solution to it. Now if I go into the detail, this has to be there. Keeping this thing in mind, nothing of this should be missed from your answer. Now definitely as an examiner or a teacher, I'm not going to see that all of these things are there, but there's a kind of a rhythm, there's a kind of a flow that we talk about. Now if you see into these things more clearly, these are just the subheadings that I've written. But it could be something, wealth distribution, it could be a divorce, it could be any other thing that your sister chose to leave the traditional norms of, because your family belongs to a traditional side and they were not allowed to like go abroad based on anything. Like it could be a countryside traditional orthodox setup in which she was not allowed to take something for herself as a decision. And she meant that and she believed into that and she for education, for job, for marriage. For some reason she was not with you in the family for so long. And she goes away. Anything in the family dramatic, out of the blue just happens, and you have to talk to her after so many years, and you just bring that up. So what I'm trying to say is, this sentence has to be in your mind. Talk about how everything into all of these elements should be weaved around this particular thing. In other words, what we are talking about is, this sentence must be explained by you with all of these subheadings, with all of these things, with all of these clips that should be there. With each paragraph that you're writing, I should be opening another aspect of that character and talking about it. So this is how things are. The more I should be explained, and with each paragraph, I as an examiner or your examiner must understand that you have given me another perspective of that. That could be a descriptive. Now please, there are certain don'ts of this narrative writing. It was lovely morning and the sun was shining brightly. The scorching heat. Apart from these usual startings or the cliche of that, we call it the cliche of the narrative writing. Obviously, we don't know alliterations and train and blah blah and all of those things. We do not want that. We do not want that because thousands and thousands of students are going to attend it. And for every single student, if it is about like, it was a lovely morning and start with that, think about yourself that how monotonous it would be for the examiner to read after every several or few of the steps the same thing. So the grading actually goes down and down if you do not have anything. The story must not be so much anticipating. Like even if I'm talking about the wealth distribution or the hire or any of those things, even the divorce, there could be some kind of an emotional attachment that you had. Even if I'm talking about the most common thing, that's divorce. And if she happens to do the choice of her life, she chose herself and the family was against it. There should become some kind of an emotional drama, what she had been through, what she had been, the family did not know, what she had been doing there for so long as your brother, as a brother or a sibling or in any other relationship and a friend, had no clue about what exactly was happening in her life. Come out of that comfort zone of yours. If narrative choice is, and narrative becomes your choice for the 30 marks. Do not give a very anticipatory kind of story to your examiner. Lastly, I would like to say that it should not be between like 500 that you're going to touch that. Again and again we are telling you, it's better to write 375 words and 400 words with something. There is no point that you exceed with that word. If you're good enough and you can write on it, you can always exceed. But if you fall into the category of those students who actually are going to do it for the services, like the more they write, the more the chances are that they commit errors. So it's better not to do that. It's better not to go for lengthening your story for nothing. If each paragraph is not giving it. Another thing is, this becomes your dialogue. I had not spoken, or if you're not using it. If you're not using it for something, some kind of a, because I had not spoken to my sister, that could be a kind of a scenario. This particular thing, it cannot be framed into a dialogue when we look into it. You can put it into a situation. If you happen to write a dialogue in a story, there is no error in it. But there must not be more than three dialogues in a story, because then it becomes a dialogue, not a narrative writing. Because you say something, for example, hello mom, and she says hello, and you talk about it's time to have supper, and you've made my supper. Now if this goes on, this becomes a dialogue, and from there you actually pull yourself apart from the narrative writing, which is not the case in our time. So in other words, we are talking about this particular thing. Now the better thing is always, please do your mapping. If you can do it this way, pretty good. If you cannot do it, it's always good for mind map. Mind map. It's always good for mind map. For example, we are talking about the family property. For example, we are talking about the distance apart. For example, we are talking about the clashes. Now, the more you put into this particular small words, the more it becomes easier for making your paragraphs. And once you are done with it, you're talking about the dialogue framing. You're talking about the climax. When any character has a rebuttal to what you say, or is against you. Now, once you talk about this thing, in other words, the flashback, actually the flashback is a very appreciated technique. Now, when you put these things as a mind map on the first page of I'm talking about your answer sheet. So it becomes easier, because this is how it becomes your story. This is how it turns out to be. So you can start with a dialogue in the first place. You may start with a distance apart. Anything can be, or you may start with a climax, being a clash, a rebuttal. That could be from any of your uncle, any of the thing, any weird character, any kind of thing. So that flashback technique can be taken up by you in any case. So this is how you put up into these things and you frame it. So the kind of coherence the coherence is needed. The coherence is there in your work. So you can always see that. So the most common thing that we, in terms of students, what we see is that a paragraph is describing the scene of the atmosphere or surrounding, and the next you're talking about that the paragraph is going into a story, and then you'll be talking about the third is, all of things have to be linked. Each paragraph should be talking about it. So always mind map and write clearly, and finish that up in a decent style. Resolution is equally important. I hope you'll be doing it, and this could be, and if you, lastly, before I leave, it's not the only question that you have in your examination. So if for one reason or another, you have not been able to frame any kind of a story in your mind, does not come within the 45 minutes span, please go for the next one, because it's got equal marks, and you have got more liberty to arrange it in your way, because you do not have to weave it that way. A passport can be important, a necklace can be important. It provides you a whole lot of scenario to write on, much better, and the more complex and the simple one in terms of this. I hope you would be able to do that, and until the next time we meet. Thank you so very much.